Welcome to Goal Sprint, 7 days to clear achievable goals. I am so excited that you've chosen this course. You've made a great purchase, and this course is going to help you identify, clarify, and achieve your big picture goals. When you've got your goals clear in front of you and they're top of mind, there aren't a lot of things that can stop you. And during this 7-day sprint, I want you to make one commitment to yourself, that you will do the work. It's easy to go through this and finish the lessons and watch, but I want you to actually lean into the course, do the worksheets, and take the time to identify what's truly important to you so that you can achieve the goals that matter most. Let's get started on day one. Day one, we're talking about your big picture success. Big picture success. What does that look like to you? Here's what we're doing today. We're going to go look at our roadmap for our 7-day goal sprint. We're going to define a goal. We're going to clear up some goal confusion. We're going to talk about New Year's resolutions. Do we love them or do we leave them? We're going to see how you are received at your Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony. You're welcome. And we're going to identify overarching goals for 1, 5, and 10 years from now. But before we get any further, I would love to introduce myself. My name is Dr. David Arrington. I'm an executive coach with 15 years of experience. I have a doctorate in leadership. In a past life, I pastored for over 12 years. I'm a leadership trainer, a keynote speaker, a management consultant, an author, and an entrepreneur. So when it comes to helping people shape and refine their goals, this is a big part of what I do with my executive coaching clients. And when I'm brought in to work with companies as a management consultant, I come in to help them identify, clarify, and then achieve the goals that are most important at that moment. So here's a great quote I want you to kind of let burn into your mind, because this sets us up for almost the entire 7-day goal sprint. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and they underestimate what they can do in 10 years. That's a Bill Gates quote. And it's so important, and it's actually true. We try to cram so much into 12 months that we forget that, guess what, we'll be here in 5 years, we'll be here in 10 years, and we can also set goals that stretch that far. By trying to achieve so many big goals in 12 months or 1 year, we just don't, and then we set ourselves up for a cycle of believing that we can't actually achieve the goals we set in front of us. So I want to disabuse you of that right now. You can achieve your goals when they're clear, when they're motivating, and when they're very specific, when they've got a time frame. We're going to talk about that in just a few slides, but I want you to understand you can do it. You got this. You got this. So here's our roadmap for the next 7 days. We're going to identify your goals. You're going to clarify your goals. You're going to confirm they're the right goals. Then you're going to write them so that they motivate you. We're going to help you identify your goal supporters. We're going to tie your goals to your current habits. And when it's all said and done, you're going to have a personalized, one-of-a-kind goal achievement plan. Why is it personalized and one-of-a-kind? Because your goals are going to be different than mine. Your vision of success is different than mine. So therefore, your plan will be different than mine and anyone else who goes through this course. So let's start at the very foundation, the very beginning. What is a goal? And I ask this question of rooms of leaders and business people, and I usually get blank stares and I'll get bits and pieces of an answer. But this is because there's so much written about goals. The idea of goals is so deeply entrenched in our culture that we think we know what they are. So that's why I always start with a definition. A goal is a desired, aspirational, important, verifiable, time-bound future outcome that a person or group commit and plan to achieve. Okay, so with this definition, we can already see where most of our goal setting goes way off the rails, because a goal is desired. It's something you want to do. It's aspirational. It's pointing you to a better version of yourself. It's important. It's something that you're willing to sacrifice to achieve. It's verifiable because you know when you cross the finish line. It's time bound, which means it's got a deadline at some point, and it's a future outcome, which means you don't have it now. It's something that you are trying to achieve or trying to become or trying to gain. So this outcome, that's fundamentally a goal, but the two final verbs that we're going to look at here are commit and plan. There's got to be a commitment involved. You've got to step up to the plate and say, I'm going to not do these things because I'm trying to do this thing. There's going to be a commitment. There's going to be sacrifice. There are going to be things that you can't do because this goal is more important. And when I say can't, let me say it like this. There are going to be things that you choose not to do because you're choosing to achieve this goal. And finally, there's got to be a plan. Without a plan, everything you're doing is literally just a waste of time. If there's no plan behind it, you're not going anywhere. And I'm going to get into that in just a few more slides. So let's look at goals, right? We know goals are important, and goals, in my opinion, are like destinations. GPSs don't work well without destinations, and guess what? Neither do you. When your goals are clear, you know what you need to do next and what you're working toward. When your goals are unclear, next steps are usually fuzzy and you lose time going in circles or not moving at all. Think about it like this, and I love this GPS metaphor. When you have we all have GPSs in our pockets every single day, right? We've got our cell phones, and your GPS app is completely useless. It's dormant until you do what? That's right, until you give it a destination. Then it springs to life and it tells you how long it's going to take you to get there. It tells you how many turns there'll be. It'll tell you how many feet you have to go on this street before your next turn. It will tell you to avoid traffic. And then if you get stuck in traffic, it will then start estimating how long it's going to take you to stay in traffic before you get to your destination. Not until you finally get to your destination does your GPS say you've arrived, and then it just goes back to being dormant again, because it only works when it has a destination. And that's the same exact way you are. Think of your goals as destinations. These are milestones. These are things you need to achieve to create that big picture vision that we're going to talk about in a minute. But like I said, there's so many things that people are saying. There's so much contradictory information about goals out there. It can be overwhelming. It can lead to what I call goal confusion. So where this happens when people think they have goals, but they don't, or they want to write a goal, but they can't get started because one person says this and somebody else says this, and it doesn't have to be that tough. But let's keep clarifying this, so when we move through this and you write your goals, you will understand exactly why your goals are the way they are, because we need to understand how goals work in relation to wishes, right? Goals are outcomes people actually want to achieve. Wishes are based on hope and fairy dust. They're the good intentions that smother urgency and action. And you've all heard these, and we've all made wishes thinking they were goals. So here, I'll give you a goal. I will pay off all $27,000 of credit card debt by date, right? That is a solid goal, right? It's something I want to do. It's very clear. I know when I've paid off $27,000 of credit card debt specifically, that's not student loan debt. That's not my mortgage. That's just credit card debt. And I know I want to get it done by this date. I can say, check, finish line. I know when it's done. Here's a wish. I want to pay off my credit cards this year. That's something you could say pretty much any year. That's something most people say every year, and it never gets done. Why? Because it's a wish. It's not a goal. It's not really actionable. There's nothing there to execute on. How many credit cards do you have to pay off? How much do you want to pay off? What year? Is that last year? Is that, you say this year, but if you said it last year, then you meant it last year. And that's what happens. Wishes are good intentions. They sound good. They're things we know we should say, but they're things that we never put a plan together, and they never get clear enough. They never crystallize in our minds enough to actually take action. And that's why wishes are terrible, because they often masquerade as goals. Then we have goals versus tasks. Goals are forward-looking and big picture things, right? A goal is an overarching thing you're trying to achieve, where tasks are often simple to-do lists or to-do list items. And what you find is that here's an easy way to tell the difference. If you can check something off in an afternoon or in 20 minutes, it was a task. It was never a goal. So let's look at the example here. A goal is to climb Everest by September of whatever year. That's the goal. Get to the top of the world by September of whatever year. The task would be reading a blog post on the best ways to prep for an Everest ascent. two different things, right? One will take you about 15 minutes and probably provide you more information to go research and find out. But the other is actually doing the thing. So one is a task, the other is a goal. Don't confuse the two. And I've seen in my experience, people often confuse the two. If it can be checked off quickly, it's a task, it's not a goal. Then we want to look at projects versus goals. So this is where it gets a little bit less clear for people. So goals set the direction for projects, but projects are the ways goals are achieved. Watch. A goal is I will create and sell a course by date. The project is research the best platforms or plugins for online course creation and distribution. That's the project. That project is going to help you to achieve that goal. So when you know which platforms and plugins are best for online course creation and distribution, then that's going to actually provide a puzzle piece to help you achieve the goal of creating and selling a course by whatever day you want to sell it. So notice, when we start at the top, we've got a big picture vision, and that big picture vision is supported by goals. So fundamentally, your goals are the milestones to help you achieve that big picture vision of success. Then we've got steps or projects that support those goals. And then under those projects, we've got actions and we've got tasks that support those steps and projects that support those goals that are moving you toward that big vision. Does that make sense? Because that's how we break it down. Fundamentally, this is a critical slide. This is one of those big slides that you can come back to so you can keep it in your head how things actually move forward, because this is an important slide. So now we understand that most goals are really wishes in disguise. I want to lose weight. I want to get promoted. I want to be happy. These are really wishes in disguise because you can never tell anything about them. These are things people say because they sound good. They're the things we know we should say, but we don't have a plan. We're not committed. They're not clear. They're not specific. There's nothing here that you can dig your teeth into and say, I really want to achieve that, because wait, what does happiness mean? And because it can look different every single day. What is getting promoted to what position, in what company, by when? I want to lose weight. How much weight? An ounce, a pound, 10 pounds, 100 pounds? How much weight? It's really difficult to ever get committed to these because they're literally just wishes. Which brings us to Happy New Year, where everyone is thinking about New Year's resolutions. And I'm glad they're called New Year's resolutions because they are not goals. They're not goals. They're literally resolutions. And a resolution means you resolve to do something. But unfortunately, in the way it's often handled, we're not resolving to do anything. We're literally just saying more good wishes, things we'd like to happen. But often is the case, those things never get done. And like I said earlier, you basically keep saying the same New Year's resolution over and over. I knew someone growing up who literally had the same New Year's resolution every single year. It became a running joke, and they were in on the running joke, so it was no problem. But it became a running joke because every year they would say the exact same thing because it was never getting done. So New Year's resolutions, they aren't goals. This year I'm going to eat more healthy. This year I'm going to call my parents more. This year I'm going to be more open. This year I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. Honestly, only that last one is it's close to a goal, but it's more, there's still more that needs to happen there. And that's why these can be sometimes deceptive, because they seem like they should be goals, but they're not. And that's why most people throw their New Year's resolutions out the door, often by mid-February, which means that these weren't that important to begin with, because if they were important, they would have kept up with them. They would have made a plan. They would have actually stuck with it because they would have known there was a commitment that's required to achieve that goal. So what I want you to see is New Year's resolutions aren't goals, and they do more harm than good. The problem with New Year's resolutions is you're only thinking about making change in your life once a year. And if we live 365 days a year, which I'm going to argue we do, except in leap years, which we live 366 days, But if we live 365 days a year, then guess what? We need to be thinking about our lives more often than once a year toward the holiday season, when you're already doing so many other things that we're just throwing together some slapdash resolutions that most oftentimes we already know we're never going to achieve. I was doing a talk for a client. I was doing a workshop on goals, and I brought this up about New Year's resolutions and how they're thrown away by mid-February. And one person literally shouted out, if they last that long, because it's so pervasive. We don't really believe in these things. So one, it sets you up to think about change only once a year. Two, it sets you up to fail because as we've already stated, no commitment, no plan. It's not specific. There's no way to know if you ever achieve it. So you're already setting yourself up to fail. Three, it conditions you to believe because you year after year, you got the same goal. You're never making any progress. You're never getting any kind of results for it. It sets you up to believe you can't even achieve your own goals, which is probably one of the worst things that can happen. Because if you don't believe you can achieve your goals, you never will. Because fundamental to your goal success is your belief that you can do it. So then it leads you to worse habits, because let's say you were going to lose weight and then by, late January, mid-February, you're just done. Then you just say, well, I might as well eat whatever I want. It will lead you down the path to even worse habits because you've reinforced the belief that you can't do it. You can't do better anyway. You can't achieve the goal. So why fight it? And finally, it kicks off a cycle of cynicism and shame where you just become less and less engaged in your own personal success, and you continue to go along just to get along, and the status quo overtakes you because New Year's resolutions have trained you to believe that you can't change, that you're not good to your word, that you can't stick to something long enough to make a change in your life. And I'm telling you right now, that's why I don't like New Year's resolutions. So if it's a love it or leave it, for me, it's definitely a leave it. It's a throw it in the middle of a field and set it on fire. I wish we never, ever had New Year's resolutions. I wish we changed that to New Year's goals, and then we would have something a little bit more tangible. But even then, I think looking at your life and changing your life and behaviors only once a year is way too little input to make a big difference. So let's talk about your Lifetime Achievement Award. Congratulations, you earned it. You are a model citizen. You're someone that people look up to. You're someone that people want to be like. They want to emulate you. They are looking at you saying, wow, if my life is only half as successful as yours was, then guess what? I will be great. So here's the question I want you to ask. Here are the questions I want you to answer. What are people saying about you at your award ceremony? How would you want them to describe you? What stories are they telling about you that are like, yeah, that's so you. Yep, that's everybody's in on the joke because you've always been that way. You've been consistently that kind of awesome person. What impact have you made on the people around you? Because I want you to ask that question. These questions are so important. Here's another question. Who else is there? Who's there singing your praises? Who are the most important people in your life that you would be broken if they weren't there? That's what you need to ask. And then you want to say, what type of life have you lived outside of this moment where people are commemorating you? But overall, what type of life have you lived? What type of vacations have you gone on? What type of impact have you had in the community? What type of spiritual life have you led? What type of financial situation are you in and leaving for those that come behind you? Think about it from all of those areas. And here's the key. You get to choose. So choose wisely. Choose wisely. So here's where I want you to dream big. I want you to think about your lifetime achievement and your big picture vision of success from a very big angle. I want you to not think small. I don't want you to limit yourself to what you're doing now that you can believe you can do. I want you to push yourself a little bit into that realm where, ooh, that would be a stretch. That I don't think we could do that, but maybe if I tried, because therein lies in that moment of it's a little bit just beyond your grasp. That's where your great achievements are waiting for you to find them. So let's talk goals. How do we get you onto that Lifetime Achievement Award stage? How do we make that ceremony happen? So here are the things I want you to do. Over the next year, What goals do you think you can accomplish that'll move you closer? So write down, this is what you're doing. You're just writing down all the goals, all the wishes at this point. Don't worry about shaping them into goals. We just need the ideas right now. I need all those wishes. What would you do? Would it be, would you be doing whatever? I'm going to start giving you examples, but I was going to let you do it. Look back over this lesson if you need more examples, but just write down things you would want to do. And then what I want you to do, once you have 20 or 30 of those, that's right, 20 or 30, if you can come up with that many, if you come up with more, great. I want you to go back through and then label them saying, okay, this is a 1-year goal, this is a 1-year goal, this is a 1-year goal, this is a 5-year goal, this is a 5-year goal, this is a 10-year goal, this is a 10-year goal, this is a 5-year goal, 1-year goal. I want you to go back through all of those 20 or 30 goals or wishes right now and say, what you believe you can accomplish in 1, 5, or 10 years. So all of them, if you've got 30 goals, each one of them should have a time frame next to them. 1 year, 5 year, or 10 years. And then what we're going to do is we're going to narrow it down. I want you to pick the one goal that is in the 1-year column, right? One that says, that's a 1-year goal. I want you to put that goal in a different place. And I want this to be your one goal that you're going to work on to achieve this year. I want you to do the same thing with your 5-year goals, right? I want you to pick one that is super motivational, one that you really feel is going to move you toward that big picture vision of success. And I want you to take that one out and say, that's the one goal I'm going to work on for the next 5 years. Then the next one is, I want you to pick, you guessed it, a goal that you want to accomplish in the next 10 years. And so doing what we're doing is we're now going from all the cool things in the world you could be doing to here are these 3 goals that I'm trying to hit in 1, 5, and 10 years. Now we're taking all of this and removing a lot of the overwhelm. We're getting a lot clearer. We're getting a lot more zoned in and specific about where you want to go and what you want to do with your life, because it's important. Now, out of the entire universe of things you can do, you have just narrowed it down to 3 goals, one that's 5, and one that's 10 years away. And here's the other thing. I just want to say, if you went through and in your list you had a lot of 1-year goals, I'm going to go back and ask you to rejigger that, right? I just said rejigger. It's okay. You're going to rejigger that, and you're going to make sure you kind of keep them even, because going back to our very first food for thought, our first quote at the beginning, we overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in 10. And I want you to not overestimate what you can do in a year. And I want you to have some of those great goals spread through 1, 5, and 10 years, because this is the way we move forward. So achieving your big goals begins with understanding what's most important to you. And that's why I was saying your goal achievement plan is going to be very personalized, because it's yours. It's not mine. It's yours. It's based on what you want to accomplish. So by considering your Lifetime Achievement Award ceremony, you were able to quickly understand what's important to you. And using that, we created goals that will help you become that person. So what I want you to do now is I want you to shut this down, and I want you to get onto the worksheet and jump in there and answer the questions. Take time, write down all your wishes, all those things that have been lingering, whether it's going back to school or whether it's losing weight, whatever it is, put it on there and figure out the time frame that you can finish it in, if it's 1, 5, or 10 years. And then I will see you in day 2. Have a tremendous day.